Hey everyone, Irit here, and today I have a review for you of the Arteza 36 watercolor half pan set, as well as another sketchbook from them. And the sketchbook is pretty much the same like a previous one that I have reviewed. So I'll get to that a little bit later, but let's start with the watercolors. I'm going to open them, show you everything, swatch them, also do a little demo, and talk about the pros and cons of this set. Now, these items were sent to me by Arteza, but this video is not sponsored, and the opinions are my own opinions. So this is how the set comes. It costs $34.99, I want to say. So price can probably vary a little bit depending on where you are in the world. What is nice about Arteza that you can find it on their website as well as on Amazon. So it's very widely available. And this is the tin. The set comes in this large metal tin, and as you can see, it has 36 half pans in 3 rows, and then the last row is occupied by a water brush, but that means that you can add more colors, 12 more pans, and that is definitely a nice feature. So this is how it comes. It comes with this flap that you can easily remove. And let's get into it. The pros of this set, first of all, I really like the tin. I prefer metal tins to plastic. I just prefer the material. I prefer how the color mixes on them. And I really enjoy the versatility of them. So, you can start with this set, and then as time goes by, add more pans. You have the space for it, or switch colors around, try different brands. That's the great thing about metal tins. They are very, very customizable as opposed to plastic tins or plastic boxes, which for the most part will only fit kind of the brand that they, come with. So for that reason, I really find as time goes by and I enjoy customizing my sets, I tend to just stick with the metal tins because you can mix brands. Every brand has a different kind of box, which is really kind of annoying, or pan, I mean. And yeah, the metal tins really allow you to use whatever you want. So that is a pro in this set. Also, sets with metal tins, sets that come in metal tins tend to be more expensive than, the same amount of colors in a plastic box from the same brand. That has been my experience. Another pro is the price. I think $35 is a good price for a 36 half pan set. The colors are nice. You can see they're intense. They're kind of creamy. It is an enjoyable set. I played with it some more also off camera, and these are nice to paint with. It's pigmented for the most part. Some colors are a little bit more anemic than others, but I really find that is the case with pretty much all brands, and it also depends on the pigment. So not all pigments are created equal, and not all formulas are created equal, and not every color is super bright, and some are meant to be more muted or just, not as intense. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think you can kind of hear in the tone of my voice that I am not particularly in love with this set. And let's get into the cons. So first of all, one thing that really, really bothers me is that there is no pigment information, which is probably the case with most sets that are geared towards crafters as opposed to watercolorists. But this, I find, is such a disadvantage. The colors are just named however the company decided to name them, similarly to the Alta New set, and also kind of the texture of these kind of reminds me of that set. And, if you just buy this set, if this is like your only watercolor set and you just wanted to play with watercolors and you don't really intend to go deep into this whole world of watercolors, then you probably won't mind this. But once you start learning and reading and watching other artists, you'll see that a lot of the times there are these classic watercolor names and pigments that just come up again and again, and it just makes life easier to kind of know what to expect when you're buying a new color. If it's ultramarine blue, you kind of know what to expect. And then also across brands, you will know that ultramarine blue looks a certain way and usually behaves a certain way and usually mixes a certain way. Of course, there are slight differences between each brand, but still it's kind of, some sort of like standard system that helps you navigate color ranges across brands. And to me, this is kind of a big disadvantage of this set, that there are no standard colors. I don't know the pigments here. And at the end of the day, for me, it's kind of what separates certain brands from others. And companies that target artists will just tend to have more information about their products. That's not to say that the set isn't fun to use or good value or good quality, but it is what it is. So let's move on a bit to the sketchbook. Now, this sketchbook is, from what I can tell, it's again from the premium range, which I already have 2 of the A4 of the larger sketchbooks, and I'm now almost at the end of the second one. So I have painted quite a bit in these journals, and I've also used the smaller one, a few pages. It's not the most amazing, super quality watercolor paper. However, for this price, you get 2 sketchbooks for $28.99. I looked around. It's kind of hard to beat. And what I mean is, if you want a nice watercolor sketchbook where you can, use watercolors and washes and have some fun in it, and you want stitched binding and you want a hard cover, which I really enjoy all these things, especially the stitch binding. I really, really don't like spiral binding. It's kind of hard to find something comparable that isn't about 25 to 50% more expensive. Now, when it comes to the paper, this isn't 100% cotton. And actually, the first page here that I'm using was kind of really, really bad with the way that the watercolor just did not move on it at all. But as I got into the rest of the book, it really got better. And for more like sketchy type of art journaling or sketching, if you're not going to do a ton of layers and blending and, kind of going a bit heavier on the technique side of watercolors, I think these are lovely. I'm really enjoying them, and I prefer the smaller size, this size. This is, I think, 8¼ inches square, than the A4 size. Just because that one is a little bit big and I don't want to carry it around when I'm out and about. But this one is really nice. The cover is this linen fabric that I really enjoy more than, some other books have that kind of serious, to me, that serious black cover. I find this just more appealing. I've also seen actually that they have a beige cover in this range, and if you're more into dry media, then they have ones with a blue linen cover. So I really like the look of these books and the feel of them, of these sketchbooks, and also for just my kind of daily art journaling, which usually involves a few layers of watercolors. I don't do lifting. I don't do scrubbing. I don't do all of these techniques that really challenge the paper. For those, I would absolutely recommend you use, heavyweight, proper, like 100% cotton watercolor paper. But for, quick washes and just having fun with other mediums like ink and watercolor pencils, I'm really enjoying these sketchbooks. I have other ones in my stash and I keep using these. So to me, that says something about it. So I'm just showing you a little bit of blending. And you can see this page, if you're familiar with watercolor paper, this looks bad. But it was just this one paper. So I guess, it might have some consistency issues with the paper here. But as I've said, I've already gone through about 2 of these sketchbooks, the larger ones, and I really enjoyed them. The experience was a very pleasant one. So let's get into the shade range. I have really found that I think my sweet spot when it comes to a size of like a pre-made watercolor set, I'm somewhere around the 24, 26 paints. Anything more than that, I feel it kind of gets redundant. Especially as you paint more, you kind of learn that you have certain color preferences and some colors are just not needed. Now, it is nice to have a wide range of colors, and maybe if you're a beginner and you don't really want to learn mixing or color theory, or you're a bit intimidated, then yes, it's nice to have a large selection. I still think a 24 set is plenty. Now let's talk about the color range specifically in the set. You can go back to the swatching part and pause the screen and take a look for yourself. I just didn't I didn't have enough time to talk about that while I was swatching. So the neutrals in the set, I find it's not a great selection. There are like 6 browns that look very, very similar, and there's 1 black, and there are no grays and no other kind of interesting muted tones. So a really redundant selection that doesn't give you a lot of variety. Now, obviously, you have a good selection of primary colors, so you can mix pretty much any kind of neutral or semi-neutral color on the color wheel. But if you're going to have a 36 pan set, then I think it should have a really great selection of every color, and it doesn't do that on the neutrals. The blues tend to be either more purpley or more on the kind of phthalo blue type of blue. The closest color that reminds me of ultramarine blue is a little bit more purple than I would like it to be. So again, not great. The pinks are okay. There's 1 violet. I think in a 36 set, they could have made that a little bit a wider selection. The yellows are also okay. The lemon yellow, which a lot of people use, is just a little bit anemic. I think it could have a bit more of a punch to it. I don't use a lot of lemon yellows. I tend to use warmer yellows, more orangey yellows, and those are nice in the set. So for me personally, it's not a big deal. But if you really like a punchy yellow lemon, you might have to tweak this palette and search for another one. The greens are okay for my personal preferences. They are not, I really don't like hooker green and those type of greens that I can't really characterize now. I tend to like more the muddy golden greens or the more bluish greens or muted greens. So for my personal preferences, it's a nice selection of greens. The tin is a little bit big. If you have a very small space, then I would recommend a smaller set. But, obviously the advantage here is that you can add 12 more colors easily, and you will have a 48 color tin. You have a lot of mixing space in it. Again, I said in the beginning, I really love metal tins. Those are my preferred ones to use. I like the mixing setup, and it's just usually a very standard design that just changes depending on the size of your palette. And I'm more leaning towards the 12 pans or the 24. Anything bigger than that, I feel it gets just a little bit too big for my personal preference. Now, you can see here, I'm just playing around with these, and what can I say? I had fun. I enjoyed them. I think you can find some really pretty colors here. There are some really pretty pinks, and you can mix, again, with this color range, you can mix any color you want. Okay, so let's get down to the bottom line. Do I think this set is a must? No. Do I think it is good value? Yes. However, I think you can spend this amount of money on a smaller set that will give you still a better color range, because a lot of the colors here are redundant, and it's probably true to most 36 color set. I'm trying to think if I could assemble my own 36 set, what colors would I put in it, and would I have like redundant shades? Probably, you know, depending on what you like. But yeah, I just think you'll be better off spending your money on a 24 set from a brand that kind of labels their paints in the more standard system and gives you kind of that pigment information. However, if you are a mixed media artist, a crafter that kind of just wants to dabble in watercolors, you want a large range of colors, you really want a big metal tin. I mean, an empty one without any paint will cost you about, I think, around $20. So add 15 more and you also get a brush and 36 pans. Then yeah, you might enjoy this set. I didn't try the water brush. They never work for me. It's just not my thing. It looks okay. Maybe I'll try it again in the future. So these are my thoughts. I do think the sketchbook is fun, and I've said my opinion about the watercolors, so I hope you found this helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.